Hello to you all, and welcome to Pyramid Energy. Please excuse my voice, I'm congested today. So I have the sniffles, okay? And I can also feel in my sort of third eye space that my head feels full. This whole time, I've kind of just written this off as just sniffles and congestion. But now that I'm here, I'm recognizing this as a reaction to my surroundings. In a situation where a lot is moving around with regard to systems and where you have people responding to changes, okay? And here I'll speak to the throat. A lot of things that are being done, a lot of things that are being said within one's environment. If these things trigger those around you and their energy to move into problem-solving mode, stuck mode, some form of overdrive of thought, okay, because you're triggering these things. That sudden impact on your environment, you could interpret this, I suppose, as backlash, but being an empathic being, your own system, your body would respond. This is not always a negative thing, and I'm not sensing it as a negative thing here. I'm looking at this as information, because you then move into resting, okay? That's the natural response, I suppose, where you want to speed up the healing process, and you'll often find that there are actually opportunities around you to rest. Even when things are chaotic or busy, you'll find that there's a gap for you to take care of your own business and catch up with the energy, to then find yourself on the other side, ready and in position to act accordingly. Okay, I hope that I've explained that well enough. The reason I'm actually even interpreting it this way is because it has not affected my energy levels. There are times when a person is completely run down and you can tell that then you've overworked yourself. But where I'm sitting here now and I'm speaking to you about this like you're all my doctor, okay? What I'm sharing is so that if any of you maybe are experiencing what I'm experiencing, and yes, I'm not a healthcare professional, and so please seek medical advice if you are not feeling well. But the sense that I'm getting here is that as things around you begin to reconfigure, okay, and not necessarily reconfigure themselves, they are being reconfigured. As this happens, you are going to find that you will experience an uptick of your energy, an increased flow of energy and information, things flowing through the right channels, okay? What I mean by this is when systems are in a toxic configuration, what happens is that where information is supposed to flow, it gets blocked, okay? And so now that actions have been taken and things are being done to unblock these blockages, okay? Right now, you might be experiencing this pause or interruption, but things are just going to start flowing. You're going to be repeating yourself less. You're also being prevented from intervening in too many spaces so that the system can rebalance. And so once you return, you'll feel more energy, you'll feel less wastage of energy, fewer interruptions, less regression. I'm also hearing less spite, as though spite, when expressed or projected, needs a corresponding energy to absorb it. A corresponding sort of receiver. And so those receivers are being dissolved right now, the ones that correspond with spite. Like literally, the spite cannot land in the field. The way I'm speaking right now, I feel like I'm speaking so technically when I'm talking about energy, but this is how the energy is presenting to me. I'm seeing a field that has been able to absorb a lot of spite, a lot of negative projections, a lot of distortions. And so this is the system that is reconfiguring while you pause. And so your system is picking up on the reactions to these reconfigurations, okay, to allow for more truth. And so the system is becoming more aligned to truth, and therefore any spite that is projected onto the system will literally not be recognized by the system. And so this is also an opportunity to sit with the kinds of changes you'll want to allow to happen now going forward. What they're sending me to is plans you had before, things that you thought would not work, will actually work much easier now, okay? Things that speak to your ideals, the things that you felt it's not worth your energy pursuing these things, it's going to be much simpler to pursue these things and to implement some of these changes. And so there are many cycles closing all around you, is what I'm seeing in the energy. This is occurring to me as one of the most generous and progressive evolutions that you've witnessed. This is happening internally and externally. This is happening on a physical level in the material world. But because we're talking about systems, I'd like for you to also consider this as happening in your internal world. Okay, there are certain mindsets that have, you've noticed this for yourself if I'm speaking to you, and if this resonates with you, you will have noticed that there are certain loops, mindset loops that you've experienced, things that you've become aware of in your behavior, in your ways of thinking, that you've struggled to undo, you've struggled to reverse or change. And they're saying that that sense that you have that these things are fixed and that you cannot overcome them, these things are relaxing. They're currently relaxing, rebalancing. And so allow for the rest, because when you return, you're literally just already going to be set. This is a timeline shift. Okay? This is a timeline shift. And I didn't know all this before I switched on the recorder and started talking about my sniffles. But this is quite a big major jump. Okay? And what they're saying is that you'll also need to stay mindful that your nervous system needs an opportunity to catch up as well. Because what's happened is that your program that you've been running on has been on high alert. It has been, vigilance mode, where you're anticipating things that are going to change, what reactions will ensue and all of that. And that can leave the body feeling very tight. I'm also sensing, again, I'm not a medical professional, physical aches and pains. It literally through your core, you can feel that something has shifted. And so they're saying that if you can just become aware of that, it'll help your nervous system to relax and to get used to the new program. You know what I just saw? When I said the new program, I'm seeing a room full of people. I'm seeing a room full of people, and everyone has a program. And then some of the people in the room receive a new program, okay? And then others in the room are still on the old program. And then when things are being said, you've basically got some of the room feeling completely lost, trying to figure out what's going on because they're still holding the old program. It's almost like people sitting in class. Some of us have been alert. Others have been daydreaming and sleeping, or getting up to nonsense. And then the new program gets handed out. The ones who've been up to nonsense aren't on the right program. And everyone who's on the right program is just not interested because they're about to lose out on the next instructions because of people that actually never paid attention from the beginning. I'm also just interested here because I haven't pulled out any cards yet, and I've been running off numbers. All I have to look at right now is literally through my mind's eye and the numbers on the clock. And what I'm seeing from the numbers as well is this is a lot of progression that's happening right now. And essentially, you're going to be building changes upon changes upon changes. While you used to be dealing with a system that couldn't absorb changes, it couldn't integrate changes because it was stuck. It was being left stuck through the old program. Now on this new program, you're going to have a change happening, acceptance through the system. Another change happening, the system will accept. Another change happening, the system will accept. And so this is rapid evolution. This is evolution. This is the results of holding the line and being aware of what needs to change or what you wish to change, but also being aware of what you can change for a time and what you can't change for a time. That is holding the line, knowing the truth of the matter, irrespective of reactions and responses, and waiting for judgment to take place in its own timing. And so from what I'm seeing almost these elements moving through a timeline. I'm seeing that the fire already happened in the past, and I'm seeing the earth, Pentacles energy. I'm seeing the earth making way, almost holes in the earth, space for light to come through. I'm seeing gaps and throughways for water to move through, and I'm seeing the earth being willing to integrate whatever air and information is available to it. And the ground, the earth's reaction to this air and this water is for you to be able to reap abundance. They're saying that there are many seeds. There are many seeds, some of them buried beneath the earth, okay? Lots of seeds that you sowed, okay, in the ground. They're saying some you may have forgotten about, okay? They're saying you're about to see plants growing, fresh earth. I'm seeing rejuvenation, and I'm also seeing, it's very visual today, I'm also seeing, now that there's this ground that once felt barren, I'm seeing all these plants growing, I'm seeing food growing, more life, and I'm seeing more people gravitating to where there is more life, more food, availability of more, what do they call sustenance? They're showing me, like how, how cities evolve and people migrate. I'm seeing a migration into the territory that you've been on. There's also this concept of word of mouth that is coming up, okay? Because again, that's how cities grow in population is, let's say here in Johannesburg, like eons ago, there was a gold rush. And so one person discovers gold, tells the next person, and before you know it, there are more people in the land. I just saw 1343, and I'm trying to remember which card in the tarot is number 13. I literally had to look through the deck twice because I couldn't find number 13, and it's death and rebirth. Okay, so this is a big new beginning, and it's a death. And the symbolism of actually not remembering what this is, what I was seeing is like someone in a hotel room, let's say, and they've waited for their order through room service for so long. Finally, the order arrives and you're just so hungry, you'll accept any meal that arrives at your door. And in fact, I'm also picking up on your annoyance at the delay. And then someone knocks at the door and opens, and it's literally trolley after trolley after trolley after trolley of the biggest feast. I'm seeing that. It's almost like you even forgot what you ordered, and as if you put through so many orders over time that of course you never expected it all to arrive at once. But kind of like also they showed me something else. They showed me these negative habits, okay? And I don't like to use the word negative, positive, whatever, but these habits that you have that you see as negative. For example, what are some of the things we've been healing here? Like the idea of people pleasing, over offering of, let's say, your energy in various spaces, perhaps where then it's not appreciated or not used appropriately, not integrated, whatever that is. What they're showing me is a certain way that you generally respond to certain things, where you're aware that you shouldn't respond in this way. For example, again, over offering your energy. They're showing me that these offers are still going to come up. There will be opportunities where you don't need to step up, where you won't, okay? But that you're going to have to be mindful not to step up in those places where you would generally over offer energy. Okay, they're just saying stay mindful of that. Stay mindful of that, not necessarily retreat, but do not advance prematurely. Do not advance where you know that you should not be just overexpending your energy in those places. You know which places I'm talking about. Some of these, you step up and you respond and you advance out of fear of what it may look like if you don't, out of fear of, a reaction if you don't, literally that. They're saying just stay mindful of that. That's sort of like an outdated reaction, and embrace the idea of resting, pausing until it's your cue. And they're telling me that you have the discernment as to whether that's your cue or not. They're saying you have that discernment. They're showing me a big enhancement. Okay, I wanted to say improvement, but it's enhancement of your discernment. And they're saying that you may not feel like your discernment right now is sharp, but they're saying that's because it's balanced into your energy now. Okay, so you might feel like you're not sensing anything because you're used to being on high alert and sensing absolutely everything. Your antenna picks up on everything. Tick, 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 tick. And they're saying now it might sound more like tick, 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 tick. And they're actually showing me that in terms of like maybe more like a normal heartbeat. And so they're saying get used to not having so much chaos. Get used to allowing the nervous system to just get used to the idea of peace and growth and progress, okay, and prosperity. They're saying what you just went through is the worst. You're over the hill now, is how they're saying it. And they're saying, it's just imagine you climb this whole way and then you reach the point where you're over the hill. They're saying it will feel like that. As soon as you start offering yourself in places where you shouldn't, it's going to feel like that, like you're turning around and walking back upwards to go back, all the way back the way you've climbed. Okay? They're telling me that you don't believe me. And if you don't, that's okay. That's absolutely okay. Please don't force anything. But they're saying that if you recognize yourself through this reading, they're saying that the reason why you maybe don't believe it, or you don't want to, over-identify, let's say, with what I just said, they're saying that that's the nervous system responding to what you've been doing up until now. They're saying it's been very tight, very tense. Just as you've held the line, someone on the other side has been holding things in place, trying to keep things in the old, outdated system in place. And so as soon as that grip is lost, it's a bit of a dizzying feeling to imagine that things could just rebalance and settle into place. It's like being in an incredibly loud room and then suddenly they switch everything off and there's no sound. But they're saying that's when the silence is loudest. It's almost like you can't ignore that it was just so loud, and you can sort of hear, you can still hear it in your sort of body's memory and your ears, the memory of your ears. You can still hear the sound, but only your mind can remind you that there's no sound, and it does, and it will. And they're saying that that moment is uncomfortable, but let it settle. They're saying that the sound of silence is usually daunting, especially having walked the journey that you have. But they're saying here there's another sound of silence, another sort of mirrored style, if you know what I mean, of the sound of silence. They're saying, the saying, the silence is deafening. I don't know why I'm stuttering. They're saying that this is not the deafening sound of silence. This is not the daunting sound of silence. This is the enlightening sound of silence. The silence where we can learn, the silence where we can understand, where we can hear, where we can feel. And they're showing me that, energetically speaking, in any situation where a new plan or a new program is being rolled out, it will not reach all places at the same time. But they're showing it to me sort of spreading and spreading and spreading. And they're saying you can expect it to come your way. I'm going to leave this reading here. I'm laughing because it's been a long time since I felt like I've just channeled. And also because channeling has really cleared up my congestion. Sending you all so much love.